I'm Ashley, and this is the Maverick Mompreneur podcast, where you're free and encouraged to own your desire to create and scale an impactful, discoverable online brand and business, a business that's aligned with your mission, lifestyle desires, personality, and zone of genius, without wasting your time on the hustle and grind hamster wheel that is social media. Can I get an amen? Sis, you are a maverick, an original, willing to stand out in your authenticity, defy expectations, and do life and business outside the box. In our world, if it's not aligned with who we are, it's a hard pass or a brave pivot. So if you're here for the powerful identity shift and transformation from boss babe or boss mom to aligned CEO, building a one-of-a-kind, influential, hustle-free online business that will produce long-term impact and multiple streams of income while building yourself in the process, well, pop in those AirPods, grab that cup of coffee or glass of wine, and let's get growing. Hello, and welcome back to the Maverick Mompreneur podcast. I'm your host, Ashley, and today's episode is going to be such a treat because I have the opportunity to sit down with someone whose story and mission and personality and everything are just going to absolutely inspire you. And this is my friend and my client, Christie Stutz of Christie's Inspirations, and I'm very excited to introduce her to you. Christie, I'm just so glad that you are here. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for asking me to be on the show. I'm very excited and nervous, but I'm just excited to be here.
I'm so honored that you're here. So we are going to talk today about how Christie got started in online business, what her inspiration, her website is Christie's Inspirations. So we want to know, what is that inspiration, and just chit chat about her mission, what she's got going on. And I know she has lots of wisdom to share for those who are wanting to start a brand and a business online. And so let's just get into it. So Christie, for those of you who don't know you, can you kind of take us back to where all of this started? What motivated you to start your brand online?
Okay. I guess a little over a year ago, September of 2023, I think. I did not know what a brand online was, a business online, but just like everybody else, I'm on Instagram, social media. And so I was scrolling through and I started seeing all these posts from people like, oh, you can make money. I'm making this much money and it's so easy. Just do this, do that. And I started thinking, wow, people are making money. So, maybe I can make money too. But, I do have a job that I really like. I like the people there, but I mean, who doesn't want to make extra money? Okay. So I thought, let me look at this a little bit more. Probably some people listening saw the same things, like you just pick a niche out of these 3 top things. You pick one of those and then you just make some things and then boom, you just magically start making some money. And I was like, okay. I started thinking about it and I was like, okay, picking a niche, like what would my niche be? I have no clue what it would be. I opted into some of these emails, were like, put your email in, give me your address. I'll send you like a checklist or something. So I opted into some of those. I did a little bit of research on my own. I made a little girl's journal that you could sell on Amazon. So I was doing some research on my own, but I really did not know what I was doing. And then at some point I started thinking about, what can my niche be? I really don't know what I have to offer people. Hopefully, well, I didn't think I was going to get emotional, but so I had a season in my life that was very difficult, which started in 2019. My son came to light that he had opioid addiction, and he was a very good athlete, very well liked, made good grades in school and in honors classes, had a lot going for him. And then this just kind of shook our world and everything changed. So as I was thinking about this, I guess it is a niche, but I didn't think of it like that. But all of a sudden, I felt like I heard this voice, which I know was God, that said, you need to help other moms. I was kind of like, no, I'm not going to do this. This is something I don't want to share. This was just a very personal experience that my family knew what was going on and my close circle of friends, but it's not something that I ever really wanted to share publicly and with other people. But God kept nudging me and said, this is what you need to do. And so I wasn't sure about it, but I thought, oh my gosh, there's so many moms out there that need support, that need help. And maybe I can be that person. My son, he is in active recovery right now. I will say it was a long road, but before I started doing this, I wanted to make sure that he was okay with it. So he was home one weekend and I kind of told him that this is what I wanted to do and asked if he was okay with it. And he said, yes. Yes, absolutely. I think it's a great idea. Okay, so once I talked to him, I really started working on things and I started writing an ebook for moms, which I didn't know exactly what I was doing, but I started working on that. And then I guess I had opted into something you had created. And I checked my email one day and got an email from you and I read it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the person who needs to help me with this because I really don't know what I'm doing. That's when I sent you an email and I already, I had the ebook, but then I don't even remember the first things that I bought from you, but they were so good. And I don't know. That's when I started learning about this brand and business because I really didn't think of this as a business because I'm supporting and helping other moms. And so it took a while to figure out how this really worked. So that's really when it started. And then when you and I started a relationship on this road together of where it is today.
It's such a cool story. I need to look back and see what connected us, what product it was or what ad or how we initially got connected. But I do think it was such a God thing because you're my absolute dream ideal client, someone who has a mission, who starts a brand based on not how do I make money, but like, how do I help others? How do I help others in my niche? And it's just so pure. And then from the business side, I'm like, okay, I can help you with that part. But I think that's so amazing that you started out with a mission and you're creating products and things around that to help moms. I love your heart. I love your mission. It's just so neat. We have a really weird, I guess, geographical connection. Would it be?
Yes.
So Christie, when I think it was the first email, how did we figure out the South Carolina connection?
So I knew you were in California and I replied back to an email to you and I said, I'm just going to tell her where I'm from. I'm in Sumter, South Carolina. You're in California. I said, I'm just going to tell her where I'm from just so she'll know where I'm at. And so she replied back and was like, oh my gosh, my family's in Bishopville. And yes, I live about 25 minutes away from Bishopville. So that was so neat. I was like, this is meant to be.
Completely. And so we'll be able to get together this summer and just such a cool connection. Because otherwise it would have been, we haven't met in person yet, but you've met my mom, Christie, my mom.
Yes. And I really like your mom.
Yes. So I just wanted to interject that little story of how we met. But yeah, it's been such an honor to work with you and your mission is just amazing. So what are some of the resources or things that you've been working on and creating for moms who have a child who's in addiction or in recovery? What have you been working on over the last year?
Okay. So first of all, these resources are for any mom. It doesn't matter what stage your child is in, the age or the stage. The first thing I created was the ebook and it's called A Mother's Love, Navigating the Journey Through Addiction with Hope and Strength. And that was just something that I did not have and I did not find when I first started on this journey. I really had nowhere to turn except for some support groups online that parents could attend if their child had been to like a rehab facility. But I spent hours online searching for things. And so I couldn't find any. So I thought, well, I'm going to come up with my own things that I feel like can help a mom. So I have my ebook. And then I started just thinking about what do moms need to know? So I have a toolkit of all of the things I've created so far. And it's called the Courageous Moms Toolkit. And it's got like a boundary checklist, effective communication checklist, a self-care e-guide, 30-day devotional. And it's got some other things in there, things that I think are beneficial for moms who are walking this road. Another part of it is faith. That was another thing that has really gotten me through all of this. And all of these other groups and programs, there's some great ones out there, but I don't feel like there are a lot that are like faith-based, and my faith has gotten me through this whole thing and other things in my life. And so I really felt like that needs to be a part of what I'm doing, because without God by my side and praying and just having the right support and the right people, that's just a big part that I felt was missing for a lot of people. But these are tools that I've had to work on through these 5 years that have helped me get to where I am now. Me, the person I am getting getting emotional talking about it, but where I am today was not where I was back in 2019. I've grown so much. The first step was that I shared my story publicly. And one of the things that I really remember is the very first video I made to put on Instagram. Oh my gosh, I was so nervous. I probably recorded the video 50 times because some people know the story and others don't. And so I was really nervous about putting anything personal out there. But I have to say that from that one Instagram video, I got so many messages and comment and encouragement from people that I really didn't expect. And since this has all started, I've had people that live in my area and people from over the other part of the country contact me who are going through this same thing. And it feels so isolating. And I don't want a mom to ever feel like she's alone, because you do feel like that lots of days. And I know there are other people in our story, but I think it's different when you're a mom and you're living it every day. This is for the mom who is crying at 2 a.m., who's in their car running around searching for their child, who's online looking for any resource, any facility. They might see signs, looking for anything. I'm that mom.
I'm sitting here thinking through how many incredible lessons in branding that you're bringing up just as a natural byproduct of being your authentic self. And it's really cool to hear. And I know you know so much about branding now that you didn't know a year ago, but just thinking about, I think a lot of people start out and they struggle with, what have I gotten a result in? Or, I'm not a guru, so I can't be a leader in a niche. But when I look at your story, you're the prototype. You said, I'm not who I was back in 2019. I've gone through all of these experiences, and now here you are years later, and you're steps ahead, and you're willing to be brave, step out and serve other moms who are not where you are yet. And you have gone through this transformation, and you still are actively practicing all these things that you are helping to guide other women with. And I think sometimes we think, oh, we need to get to this certain place of healing or whatever it is, whatever niche it is, in order to get started. But what I think is so cool is that you know your ideal client being who you were some years ago, and then you have so much to offer. And just that the driving force behind your brand being your passion to really help and serve others. Those are the things that you can't really, the passion behind it is what you can't really teach, or you are so brave. I guess I was thinking of a question that I wonder if others have. One sticking point for so many people when they're getting started or even far into their online journey is being vulnerable, even just a little vulnerable, but you've really gone there. Do you have any tips or tricks for someone who wants to share their story, a part of their story, and feels comfortable doing so and feels like it would be beneficial for others to do so, but is nervous about what other people think or some of the things you went through? What did you do? How did you get yourself to show up? What was helpful in that process?
I think what was helpful in the process, and if you are listening to this, if you are thinking about something that's maybe not easy to talk about, just remember who you're talking to and why you're doing it. That's my whole thing. Yeah, it's still difficult to share and be really vulnerable. And there's still some things that I probably won't ever share about. But if you don't say it, if I had never shared some of the things that I have, these other moms who've reached out to me, they wouldn't have known. They would have looked at my life and been like, oh, everything's perfect. Everything's great. She's got this and doing this. And no, that's not how it is. And most of our lives aren't like that. There's something. And I'm not saying that you have to go out and share everything about your life, but God created us for each other, to be there for each other. And that's the whole thing. This is about creating a support group that we're there for each other, to comfort each other, to love each other, to listen to each other. This is a safe space. This is not a space for judgment or anything. So if you're thinking about it, just do it in a way that is comfortable for you, and only share what you want to share, but think about who it can help. That's what you have to do, is think about what your purpose is and who you can help.
That is so wise. That's such good advice. And I think you're such an example of sharing, being vulnerable, but with boundaries around that. You were not going to share every single thing, but you are sharing with permission from your son even. And I think that's just such an honorable thing too. You're thinking about others' stories within your story, but sharing the things that will help someone else, but also having your own personal boundaries for what you feel comfortable sharing. And I think sometimes we might think, oh, well, I have to be vulnerable. I have to just go all the way there. No, you don't. You can set what you're comfortable sharing. I certainly do that myself, what you're comfortable sharing and what you're not, with the thought of, if you're going to share it, it's not for the sake of airing dirty laundry, it's for the sake of helping someone else. And so I think that's a really great framework to use. You mentioned a support group. So I know you're about to kick off a membership. So what's the concept behind your membership for those listening? Because I know that there are some moms listening or someone listening who knows a mom who may be in this position. And so I want to make sure that we talk about the support group that you have, because it is so unique. You and I both know we've done a lot of research on what's out there online, and there's really not much. And so I want to make sure that if there's anyone listening, that they know what you have to offer as far as your support group.
My support group is called the Courageous Mom Circle Support Group. And this is like the foundation and main purpose for my online business, is because that is what moms need. These tools are great that I'm creating and, other things, but it's the support that you need. It's the having someone to talk to that gets it, who's going through the same thing. Like, you might be 3 steps ahead of me, but I might be 3 steps ahead of you. So we've all walked that road in some way, shape, or form. Honestly, when I started this, yes, I did want to support moms, but I did not have the support I needed myself. I've actually grown a lot more since this even started. When you and I started together in 2023, and my son had some setbacks during this time, which was really difficult for me. I didn't know if I should quit doing this, if I should keep going. Obviously, I did. I felt like God called me to do it. So I kept on, and another brave mom in my town started a in-person support group. I was nervous to go, but I will have to say that it's one of the best things that ever happened. I get my support from them, but it's helping me to be able to help other moms online. It's just crazy that initially that's what I wanted to do, because I didn't know how to start a support group in my town. It was something I thought about doing later down the road, but the online thing, I wanted to be able to reach moms anywhere in the world and say, it doesn't matter where you're at. You can come join my support group. You can cry. You can laugh. We can just be there together. And if you're part of my support group, private Facebook group that you'll be a part of, that can send things all the time and kind of keep in touch, in addition to the monthly support group call. And also there's some other little fun things that you might get if you join my support group. Also, some gifts from me that are part of me. There's a side of me that people see and people don't see. I have this side, I'm supporting moms and all that, but I also have another side to me too, which also want to mention my podcast that I started recently called the Courageous Moms Podcast. And yes, Courageous Moms is in like almost everything I have. I'm not really sure where it came from, but I feel like any mom walking this road is very courageous.
Times a million.
And we're real people. Into my podcast and the theme, like I have these pair of pink sunglasses that my best friends gave me. I call them the rose-colored glasses, because you need to have some fun. You need to be able to put on your rose-colored glasses to say, I can't deal with this today. There's too much going on. Let me put my glasses on. Let me wear my pink, and let me just be me. And let me just not focus on everything that is happening right now. And so that's a part of what I offer, is showing you that you can still love and support your child, but you can still also be yourself and take care of yourself, which you have to do. If you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to be there for your child. And if you have other children, I have other children. This just changes everything in your world, but it can change it in a good way. And I feel like our family has really grown so much from this. I'm not sitting there saying I want it to happen to anybody. I do not. Definitely do not. But I feel like the mom is usually the foundation of that when this happens. And you can bring your family together when you go through things like this. But you also have to learn to set boundaries. You have to stop enabling. There's things that you do have to do, but I have to do those with my other kids too. It's not just my son who struggles. These tools can apply to a lot of moms in everyday situations too.
For sure. And everyone goes through challenges in different ways, shapes, or forms. And a lot of the things that you teach and that you practice can apply to so many situations. I've got to ask you this question, because I'm sure other people can benefit from your advice, because you do this so well. One thing that I know I've been personally challenged with, and you mentioned this earlier, when you're going through a difficult time, particularly if it's a difficult time within the topic that your brand and your business is centered around when you just don't feel like showing up when you're going through it. Because you've continued to show up throughout challenges for your audience, for that mom that you want to reach. So what advice do you have for someone who's going through it and just not feeling like showing up, but yet feeling that drive, that pull that, no, this is my mission, this is my passion, but maybe they aren't quite sure how to continue to show up? Do you have any advice for someone in that type of season?
Yes. I think you still have to remember that somebody is listening to you. Somebody has probably watched your post or listened to your podcast episode, and you feel like, first of all, you can't let them down. Plus, you have to think about what you're trying to offer. And I'll be honest, what has really helped me when I've been in those down times during this business was when I actually went and kind of brainstormed and wrote a blog post. And it really helped because I was thinking about what I needed, but also what can I write to share for someone else. And so I just get in there and like brainstorm how you're feeling and what you're going through. And all of a sudden you've created something that has gotten you a step forward instead of a step backward. And that enables you to take the next step, to keep going, because it's easy to quit. We all know that. And I guess I've always had this entrepreneurial side of me, but I didn't really know it. But now looking back, I see that I do have it, and you just can't quit. I mean, you're going to have to tweak things. You're going to have to change things. You're going to criticize yourself. I've learned all those things. I'm not a big social media person. I really don't like doing a whole lot of social media, which is why I love what you help other women with. And, with the SEO and having other ways for people to find you rather than just doing social media posts, because that's not like my passion, social media, but the website and the podcast and Pinterest and all these other things. I really like that. But the main thing is don't quit doing it, because everybody has a voice to be heard. Everybody has a story to be heard. And there's somebody waiting to hear your voice. Something you've been through. You may have been in a bad season, through a wilderness, but there's always hope. And you just have to keep moving forward. You just have to.
Absolutely. That relatability, that ability to continue showing up and sharing lessons that you're learning, that's the difference. The two things that you shared about, one, having the entrepreneurial spirit, that's something that really can't be taught. And I think I've shared before, but I really don't think building a brand and online business is for everyone. It's not. You really have to have that factor of, I'm just not going to quit. I'm going to continue to show up and push through challenges. And you so clearly have that as a being, as a person, and so I see that in your life and in your business, and it's really very neat. Another reason why you're such an ideal client and also friend, but you're just awesome. Been building your brand for a little over a year now. You were starting over from scratch, knowing everything you know now. What would you do either differently, or what would you advise someone else to start doing right away? Like, what have you learned in this last year that you could tell someone who's maybe newer or thinking about starting a brand, a business, or starting something new? Maybe they were like you, like dipping their toe into the online space through master resell rights and all that mumbo jumbo we kept seeing so much like a couple years ago. And maybe now they're thinking, well, I do want to start something of my own. What would you advise to like give someone a fast start? Or even if it's like entrepreneur mindset, I don't know, anything, just riff, whatever you.
Yeah. So first of all, I would say if you've been wanting to do something and you haven't, just do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm realizing that it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real, and you just have to do it and want to do it. And if you've been following Ashley or you've gotten some of her stuff, I would say if you need help doing it, go to her, Ashley Latimer, because she has this set up where it's not one of those just kind of says, oh, do this, do that, and you really don't know what to do. Like, she will walk you through it step by step and what you need to do from starting to, I've accomplished so much in over a year, and there's no way I could have done it by myself. So I have to, Ashley, you're such a great mentor and friend, and just a blessing that, you were in my email. But I would say, she also has her own membership, the Maverick Society. And this is like the greatest group of women that have all these different niches that they're in. And it's just so supportive. I look forward to meeting with them every week. And so I would say, if you don't know what to do, I would look into Ashley's courses or joining her membership, because it's one of the best things I've ever done.
Oh, well, Thank you. That is not the answer that I was expecting from that question, but I greatly appreciate that so much. And I love our community too. Every single week, I'm like, oh, I can't wait for our call. And I think that's the coolest thing ever, is to have, such a passion for whatever it is that you're doing. And for me, it's teaching online business and working with entrepreneurs and helping you all to get your message and mission out there. It just feels like this really cool ripple effect that I get to be like a little drop in, which is so exciting. I've loved just seeing you develop, and you develop this amazing brand. And it's so much within a year. I mean, a podcast, a website, a social media presence, products, memberships, a Pinterest presence, all kinds of things. You're just crushing.
Yeah, it's, and that's why if somebody's listening today and they're like, oh, I couldn't do that. Well, I didn't think I could do it either. Okay. I didn't know what I was doing, but here I am. All of this, just know that you need to start, and then don't give up when it gets hard, because some days I feel really good about what I'm doing. Like I know what I'm doing. Other days I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, which is another part being the support group. This is the support group for female entrepreneurs. I have my support group for moms because we need each other. We have to have each other there to pray for us and help us through what we're going through. So that's what I would say. Just don't quit.
That really is 90% of entrepreneurship, because it's where, I'm sure you've seen that graphic before, where there's that like an XY axis, and then there's this upward slope, and then there's this point where it says most people quit here at like where it'd be like a tenth of the way in, and then the growth is after that, and most people quit because it's challenging, it's hard. But if you have that mindset, which I know you do, where it's looking at challenges. This came out in a story you were sharing earlier about family, and how as moms we can lead our families through a challenge with the way that we react to something that's going on with our children or whatever it may be. But not everyone looks at it that way. Not everyone takes a really challenging situation personally or in business and then looks for the lesson and how to grow and get better. And that's something that you do, and that's something that you bring as a leader. And I just think it's beautiful. Is there something that you've done as far as a tool, a practice, a routine that's helped you to manage all of your family life stuff, work, and then having this business? Like, how do you do it all?
Wow.
Because I think a lot of people will look at you and be like, how does she, what? Like, how on earth is she doing all of that? Advise us, please.
And people have asked me that. And honestly, I don't know how I do it. I'm a very hands-on mom. My daughters are in competition dance and orchestra and sports. They're very active. I think what I do is like, I'll just start thinking like outside of work, just when I have a little bit of free time, I just start thinking about the next thing that a mom needs help with. And maybe something, I really don't know. I get in these really creative moods, and that's when I get the work done. Usually I'll do a lot of things with this business in like a lump, because I feel led, and I'm like, God, what can I talk about now? Or what does a mom need to hear like right now? So I just get it done. A lot of us are busy. If you're mom, if you're not, but we have things going on, and you've just got to find that there's little spaces of time. And if you've got the creativeness going in your mind, get it done then. That's just what I do.
I think something,
not any special formula, or like, I'm not one of those, like I have this time management from 8 to 10 or whatever. I don't really have time for that, but I do try to get a lot done in a short period of time when I can.
What I'm hearing you say, and I know this about you, but I'm reading between the lines, and I know from a branding standpoint, this is a huge thing that you do have, and you're centered on your ideal client, your avatar, the person you're serving, and you're always thinking about that woman. And that's where everything is centered around helping and serving that person. And so in business, it has to always be about your customer, your client. You have to be thinking about them. And the more you are, the more that you know that person, and you're thinking about what did they actually need? Like, what problems do they have? What's keeping them up at night? What would be a tool that would be useful for them? What's going to help them along, whether that's in your free content or in a product? That's going to be a successful business when you are centering everything around not just what do I feel like sharing. I sometimes think, maybe this is a little weird, but we think about, as moms, we think about our kids all the time, right? So we're like, what do they need? We're thinking 5 steps ahead so that we can meet their needs. It's not quite to that level, but kind of just something running in the background. The mental load of motherhood, we're always thinking about other people, and especially our kids and what's going on with them. But as a business owner, you kind of want to have that really, like I think about my clients, my members, my audience in general. I am always thinking about about that. And that's how you come up with great ideas. And that's how you have a sustainable business and an attractive business, is because you are genuinely thinking about a person, right? And so you just naturally do that. And so the content and creativity, I know, flows a lot easier when there's an actual tangible person that you feel like you're creating for.
Yeah, that's, when I was talking about when I would see the social media that say, oh, pick a niche, and like it makes you want to pick something just because that's what you're supposed to, which is going to be one of the biggest ones that you need to choose. But it's not about that. It's about picking something that you are knowledgeable about and can help other people with. That's really what it boils down to.
And sometimes we look and we see, especially with, all the digital marketing and things like that came out, I think then a lot of times people forget the expertise and experience that they have that's actually unique and actually can solve a unique problem for a more niche market. You found the perfect fit for you and what you have to offer. And it's so cool. I love that so much about Maverick Society in general, is that we have so many different niches and industries represented. There's so many different creative brains in there.
One thing that I've learned, because I've learned a lot in the last year of starting this business online, but it's also teaching my girls and my son that they can do anything they want to do. If they have a goal or they have a dream, that you don't have to be a certain age. You just have to have the desire to do it. And they see me doing this, and it's showing them that they can do something big if they want to. Like, I never thought I would have a podcast. All these people have podcasts, and I never ever dreamt that I would have one. And look, I have a podcast that I'm loving doing, and I'm getting ready to record my, I think, 8th episode.
You had a huge launch, by the way. Her launch.
Yes, I just launched it in February. So, the Courageous Moms podcast, and you can find that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podbean. I have it linked in my blog posts on my website. So if you haven't listened to that, I've actually had other people reach out to me that they don't necessarily have a child who like struggles with addiction or substance misuse, but they know somebody in their family that has, or, some of this just relates to everyday things. You have to set boundaries all the time. I'm not talking about boundaries just because, my son struggles with this or battles with this, but it helps you learn a lot about yourself and just things that are for everyday in everyday life that can maybe help a little bit.
I'm going to look up this quote really quickly because I want to read it. Here it is. So I was looking up this quote because this quote reminds me of you, but it also came up as you were talking about the things that you've gone through, and the things that you share about can relate to a lot of people, because when we go through challenges, that's when we really grow. And that's when we learn about these general concepts, right? Like boundaries and things that really translate to so many different areas. And so this quote is called The Most Beautiful People, and it's by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. I hope I'm saying her name correctly, but it says, the most beautiful people are those who have known defeat, known suffering, known struggle, known loss, and have found their way out of the depth. These persons have an appreciation, a sensitivity, and an understanding of life that fills them with compassion, gentleness, and a deep loving concern. Beautiful people do not just happen. And that quote reminds me of you, because you're a beautiful person inside and out, and even more so because of what you've gone through, and even more so because of your heart to help others. And I'm glad that however you and I met through whatever opt-in that was, I'm so glad that we did. Was there anything I didn't ask you that is on your heart that you want to share? You just have so much wisdom that you bring. We could probably talk for hours.
I want to say too that, if someone's listening that they're going through the same thing that I've gone through, or they know somebody who's gone through it, I would encourage you to reach out and get support. Even if it's not me, find support from somebody, because you don't need to do it alone. And I always say that, like, you're not alone. Don't do it by yourself. You need support. You have to have support on this road. Yes, I would love for you to join my support group if you feel like that, aligns with you. But if not, don't do it by yourself. There's always hope, and there's always other people who will be there for you. So I just wanted to share that, and any moms out there listening who might be on the same journey that I'm on.
Well, thank you so much, Christie. I know that there'll be so many that are blessed by your work and your time. And I know you mentioned, so your website, christiesinspirations.com, that's going to be linked in the show notes. I'm I'm going to link the Courageous Moms Circle support group. Your Instagram, where can they find you on Instagram?
On Instagram, you can find me at Christie G. Stutz.
Okay, we'll link that. And then also the Courageous Moms podcast, which if you're listening, any platform, you're connected to all the platforms. So we'll link all of that below. But thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time. I learned things that I didn't know, and I'm just so appreciative of your time and just for being here.
Thank you. I was so excited to be here with you today.
Thank you all for tuning into the Maverick Mompreneur podcast. And until next time, cheers to your impact. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a ton of value. And if you did, I would really appreciate if you would rate, subscribe, and review this podcast. It really helps push out the message that I have to share with other female entrepreneurs. Thank you so much.